Milo, is that you?
There, I think I got it. Bruce?
Lionel?
Bruce?
Lionel?
I'm kind of nervous.
Uh-oh. In what way? That you looked outside and your tree is now blowing down to the neighbor's yard?
Yeah, it's windy out at outside the old Boston.
It is.
Boston Joe.
Blowy can be.
It's blowy. It's really blowy. So, Bruce, are you aware of this company called HomeShops?
Yes, I've seen some of their products they have out on Facebook page. They've got some product touring the country on various layouts, and it's quite exciting concept, in my opinion.
It's a very cool idea. It's what it is. It's a fellow named Chris Palmieri, and what he decided to do was have tangent cars painted in the schemes of freelanced railroads, which I think is a great idea. And then
idea.
And then he sells them.
There you go.
Or he's going to sell them, one or the other. I can't remember exactly if they're out yet or they're not out yet. But anyways, we interviewed him some time ago. I will say less than a year. No, more than a month ago and less than 10 years ago.
There you go. That should narrow it down nicely.
Perfect. And it was really, really interesting, and he's doing well. And I want to get an update about HomeShops. But he also, which is very cool, he also suggested that in one of his future runs, he was going to do an Allegheny and Lackawanna Southern boxcar.
Nice.
Which I thought was really neat.
I'd be down for one of those.
I'd be down for several of those myself. I thought that was a really cool. I was honored as well as excited and everything else that he felt it was a worthwhile thing. The only thing is he sent me paperwork.
Oh.
Yeah.
So close.
Yeah, there's a lot of paper. There's a lot of questions. A lot of paperwork, a lot of questions. And here's the only thing is like, I kind of get uncomfortable when people, years ago, I've had a lot of experience with people asking me questions.
Yeah.
You know, fellas asking, and ladies, occasionally ladies, I'd find myself in situations where there'd be several questions to answer. And so there's a lot of questions on this thing. So I'm a little nervous about them.
Mm-hmm.
Not a big fan of the paperwork because usually I get Barb to do that.
Yeah, people do paperwork for you most times.
Yeah, and then of course the questions. In earlier years when I found myself in situations where people wanted to ask me questions, it usually wasn't for a good reason.
Sir, please step away from the car. We have a few questions for you, type questions.
And I had developed kind of a skill. I had ask me this question. This is just I'm not saying this ever happened, but ask me.
It's a hypothetical question.
This is a hypothetical. Ask me this question, and I'll demonstrate the answers that I have developed. Just ask me, do you know how fast you were going?
Excuse me, sir. Do you know how fast you were going? Well, sir, do you have an answer to the question?
That's pretty much was my standard. That was the way I signed up, but I'm not sure that answer.
You don't come back with, can you tell me? Can you give me a hint?
Yeah, can you give me a range?
Step out of the car, please, sir.
Can you give me a range?
Yes, well, it's enough that I'm pulling you over, so does that give you a bit of an idea? Well, maybe.
That'd be a whole podcast in itself someday.
There you go.
So anyway,
and of course, we did have a super fan get a ticket while listening to the podcast.
Absolutely, that was and that loophole was closed.
Yes,
because we at the AML Nation, the Modeler's Life podcast, the only thing we stand behind or recommend or whatever, however you put it, is to abide by all laws.
Observe all laws.
Observe all laws and be a good citizen at all times. We don't support any kind of shenanigans or condone it. We don't condone anything outside the letter of the law.
Yes, despite the fact there are a number of AML members who are well versed in shenanigans and antics.
Yeah. Adam Pinellas.
Yeah, his name was high on the list. Yes.
All right. His name's Chris Palmer. I'll go into, you know what? I know him because I've talked to him. I'll
Well,
go
yeah,
into the
okay.
green room and get him.
Why don't you go grab him?
All right.
Ask him what he thinks of the new decorating job in there while you're in there.
Oh, yeah. I'd say, hey, Chris. Chris.
Hey, hello.
Hi. Can you come on into the studio?
Yeah, you bet. I'm on my way.
All right. Watch there's this spot on the floor that we're not sure what that is. Don't step in.
Well, I'm tripping over this peeling wallpaper. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Low bid contractors.
Yeah. So, Chris, HomeShops.
Yes, sir.
What's happening Where are we at right now with HomeShops?
Well, we are a lot further along than the last time we spoke. I just had an exciting day yesterday and received the press proof of the HomeShops painting by Robert West. So, man, it looks good. And that is going to be the first concrete physical product I'll have in hand. So that's a milestone we've reached, and I should have those within the week. And we have also received 4 of the factory samples from Factory's Tangent of our PS 4750s. And the other 3 of our 7 road names are en route now, the samples for us to observe. And man, these first 4 cars look spectacular. They just, when you actually see the car that comes back from the factory and it has everything in it that we specified, it's kind of a sigh of relief. So we're really excited at the way this is progressing.
Yeah, because you're pretty much flying by the seat of your pants. It's a great idea. I mean, anybody I've talked to about it thinks it's a fabulous idea, and you're kind of flying by the seat of your pants. So. It's everything. Everything at this point is exciting, but kind of nerve-wracking too, I'm guessing.
Very, very much so. I'm not sure if I had really thought about how long these timelines are from project inception to reality. I'm not entirely sure I would have done it all over again, but now that I'm in it, I'm enjoying the journey, and I'm really glad. It's very fulfilling.
Yeah, because I think it's gonna turn out as a winner in the end of the day. I really do. Anybody I've ever talked about seems to think I've only got positive reaction.
Likewise, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. So when did you exactly when did we talk to you last? Like, when was your interview aired? Do you remember?
I feel like we did the interview. We recorded it in maybe April, and it might have aired in September, give or take a month or 2.
Okay, so this is probably February or March.
Correct. That's probably, yeah.
Right. This is probably, right now, while people are listening to this, it's probably February or March.
Understood. Well, then hopefully some of them will have these posters hanging on their walls.
Yeah, there you go. So I want to give everybody who has never heard of you before, I think we should walk through what's the word, Bruce, where it's smaller? A capsulized version of the podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, there we go. Look at me with the big words.
You want the Cliff's Notes version?
I want the Cliff's Notes version and what we talked about before. So how did you originally come up? So basically, correct me if I'm wrong. The idea is that there's 6 different versions of the PS 4750. Is that it?
That we're going to run.
What's the car? This first car?
It's the PS 4750 covered hopper.
Right. So there's 6 different versions of 6 different freelance model railroads that you're offering in these paint schemes. Is that
We're actually offering 7 road names, and it'll be 2 different versions.
I knew that. I was just testing.
I know you did.
Yeah. 2 different versions?
There's a 1979 car body that 4 of the road names will have, and then there's a 1980 car body, which is very different, that 3 of the other road names will have.
Oh, okay. Well, that's kind of cool. Yeah, that's very cool. And when did you launch the website?
The website launched on August 2nd, I believe. August 2nd or August 7th.
And what kind of reaction have you had from, let's say from August till now, which is just right around the new year? What kind of reaction did you have in those 5 months?
It far exceeded my expectations. And we can talk about the launch a little bit, referring to our earlier podcast. At that time, I had the website, the HomeShops website, on a countdown counter, and I think it was about 130 days to launch when we recorded the podcast. And I had set that counter to what I anticipated to be a date that I would have the painting, based on how that played out. Well, as that 137 days continued to tick, it became obvious that I wasn't going to have the painting ready for launch. So I had to make a couple of decisions there, what I was going to do. And I had people reaching out to me. They'd send me a message and say, "Hey, it's a month to your launch. Hey, it's 2 weeks to your launch," right? So the easy option would have been to change the date of the launch. And I thought, no, that's not the first impression I want to make on people who are paying attention. So I decided to go with the launch date as is. And then I thought, well, I can just, have the launch, and here it is, and there's nothing to get. And that's a marketing no-no, because you generate all this excitement. Everybody looks at the site, and to capitalize on that excitement, and get them to get one of the products, which hopefully they want, you've got to redirect every one of them back to the site. So I thought, well, what if I discount the 4750s, $5 off each car, and have advanced sales. And this way, somebody, because I know what it's like to go to a site and something's coming, and you there's nothing to buy, and you're disappointed, and then you forget about it, and then they're all sold out by the time you come back to it. So that's what I decided to do, to stick with the launch date and make the cars available for sale at $5 off what we're going to ask for them as an advance sale. And I figured, this could go one of two ways. I might get a whole lot of bad press, and a lot of people on social media say, "Who is this guy? What does he think he's doing? We don't even know what he's got." And I might sell like 3 of them. I didn't think it would be that bad, but I'll tell you, Bruce and Lionel, in the first 2 weeks, we had $25,000 in sales.
Holy mackerel.
Wow.
Yes. And right now we're right at about 600 cars pre-sold. This isn't pre-order, but pre-sold.
Holy mackerel.
I'd say that's a successful kick.
I would say it's a smashing success, because what it tells me is that there are people out there who are hungry for higher quality freelance models, and the support, that all that money has gone right into the check I wrote to Tangent for our second major order of cars, which is 86-foot boxcar. So it's kind of exciting to see that. And I absolutely expect that there'll be another bump in excitement, if you will, in sales when the poster actually comes out. And then there'll be another bump in sales when the cars are actually going out to people. And it's not just this thing that's coming. People can share and post, and, people can see them, and they're actually real cars. So I think that this is going to work out.
I'd say so. And also, I think you got to take it as you got to be flattered that people respect you and respect you as a person and as a businessman, and that they know that their money is safe and their orders are safe, and you intend to deliver on your promise.
It's flattering and humbling and frightening all at the same time.
Yeah, it is. It's frightening doing this podcast.
Yeah, I've got to throw away all my paperwork. I heard you might be afraid of that.
I noticed on your website you talk about 65 of each car number, something like that. Is that a hard, fast number? Are these now all sold out? Excuse me, or are there some still available?
No, there's some still available. So that 65 of each number is hard, fast. That's the order that's placed with Tangent in their factory. And once that order is placed, the factory gets the supplies to run that quantity of cars. They get that many trucks, whatever they need. That's what they do. So that quantity is set. And this first order, all 7 road names, 4 numbers each of 7 road names, is 1,820 cars. And so we're right at about 600 sold. So there's still plenty for people who want them.
So you've sold a third of them already.
Correct. And, my intention was to order enough cars that there would be some inventory for a while, because I want everybody's first experience coming to the HomeShops website, for a while as they discover it, there to be product available.
It's a great website too. Although I have one complaint about your website.
Go.
It's a small one, but I believe it's an effective complaint. Okay. You should have a link to your Meridian Speedway website page, whatever you call it.
I had considered that as well as links to
You
the Facebook pages and the websites of other railroads, and I was coached that that's also a marketing 101 failure or a
Really?
no-no. Well, if I'm guilty of it. My wife is guilty of it. When you start looking at the internet and something catches your attention, before you know it, you've gone down a rabbit hole, as we call it. You've clicked on 15 sites, and you never get back to where you came from. So the thought process immediately was exactly like you thought. Go ahead and have links to these sites. But what I did instead is on all of the cars. Like if you click on HO Freight Cars and you click on Texas and Great Northern, the hopper car, I've got tabs at the bottom of each one where I have the car specifications, and I've got a write up about the Texas and Great Northern, and I put a photo album on there with photos from the website actually that you're referencing, so people can get a feel for the railroad, for these freelance railroads, and I've done that for all of the road names, and will continue to do that, so that the visitor can, who has never heard of any of these freelance railroads before, or who maybe has, but wants to see just a little bit more to make their decision. It's all in-house on the website.
Okay. Yeah, but man, what is it called? What's your website about your own freelance railroad?
It's meridianspeedway.net.
That is a cool website. I don't care who you are. That is a cool site, meridianspeedway.net. And I love the concept that I think should be made aware of to people is because you don't have a layout, but you've painted a lot of locomotives and cars and cabooses or whatever you've done, and you've created a fleet and a roster, and you have this website. And the beauty of it is, I think it's an ideal situation for somebody that's an apartment dweller or doesn't have a lot of room. It gives them the opportunity to create the equipment for a railroad they might have someday in the future, or they might just like buying and having the cars. And I think it's a great idea. How did you learn to do websites?
There's a lot of websites now, or hosting companies that make it very, very easy. So the Meridian Speedway website is hosted by a company called Weebly, and you just basically have a menu, and you drag your items where you want to place them. And my HomeShops website is hosted by Shopify, and it's very similar. There's an app called Gem Pages that's set up very much like Weebly is. So setting up both sites, it's just you watch a few YouTube videos online. How do you set up a website with Weebly or Shopify or Gem Pages, and it's very easy. So there's no HTML coding or anything like that I have to do to create these sites.
I know. I think yours. Well, I use Weebly for the AML site. I think yours is better than mine, or ours, or whatever we call it.
I'm sorry, Bruce. What did you just hear that, Bruce?
My internet was cutting out. I missed that.
Okay. I just wanted to get that on the record.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
It's a great way. I love the whole concept. I really do love the whole concept. I highly recommend for everybody to go to meridianspeedway.net. It's a great concept, and you did a really good it's really good idea. I mean, it just gives you the opportunity to create a roster and go through the whole process. And like I said, if you're an apartment dweller, you don't have a large home to build a layout, or you don't have the time, or you don't have the desire to build a layout, but you want to be a model railroader. I think there's a lot of model railroaders that enjoy being in the hobby that don't necessarily want to build a layout. So I think it's just a great concept.
Well, sure. The design of the concept is just as exciting as the design of benchwork for me. So.
Yeah, exactly. It's because a lot of people are that's what, again, we go back to, that's what's great about this hobby is there's so many different avenues, and it feels like you're constantly able to uncover, something else that somebody else is doing. It's just great fun. So now, you sent me this email. So are we pretty much caught up then on HomeShops? Like you're waiting when do you expect the cars to start arriving then? Keeping in mind, this is probably February or March of 2022.
So we have advertised a January arrival, and I got an update from Tangent 3 days ago. He reached out to the factory. The good news is the cars will be ready for shipment on January 8th, 2022. The bad news is many of his shipments have been waiting a month or so just for a container to show up. And then I think we're all well versed on the shipping challenges that everyone is having. I think Jason Schron has done a pretty good job on here, and I think maybe Chris Brimley as well. It's the same deal. So we're on target for the cars to be done by January. The first 4 road names that we got the factory samples for, those are essentially the first production models. So they set everything up to produce those cars, and they express fly them to Tangent and give them the yay. We give them the yay while everything's all set up, and off they go. So those are being cranked out as we speak. And the next 3 are en route, and we're going to give the thumbs up. And the factory says that this entire order should be done and ready to ship by January 8th. So maybe there will be a post-Christmas peak season gift from the transportation market. Maybe there will be some fluidity there and some containers become available. But I think now it's safe to say we should have them by March. If we have to wait a month for a container, and most shipments seem to be taking a month or so to get across. So that's what we're hoping for at this time.
Well, I think the fact that so many cars have been sold, and like I say, you can only look at that as a positive, that people are trust you as a businessman, respect you as a businessman, everybody realizes there's problems. There's problems with everything. I mean, it's no different than me trying to get my T-shirts out to the Patreon members that they're owing to, because, I couldn't get across the border, and it's harder to ship them from Canada, and blah, 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 blah. But, it's all starting to move now.
Yeah, and I'm grateful to your show for, all the other people that you've interviewed who are going through this. The word has gotten out there, and I think that, the market understands what's going on transportation-wise right now. So your role in getting that word out, I think, is really helped here. So I appreciate that.
So now, will the cars, so you are located where exactly?
Fort Worth, Texas.
And not far from our buddy Chris Atkins.
You're very close to Chris Atkins.
Which means you're very close to Argyle, Texas, the home of the Fighting Sox. Have you ever noticed that when you go through Argyle, Texas, is there any kind of a sign there or anything that says home of Fred the Fighting Sock?
I've not seen that sign.
Okay.
No.
I'm sure there is. So will the cars be shipped to you in where you're located?
They're going to be shipped to Tangent in North Carolina. And then I will have to pony up a little money and have 2 pallets of cars shipped from North Carolina to me.
Bruce, that's something I find amazing about the model railroading industry, and especially with the manufacturers of cars and locomotives, where most of that is done in China, except for microtrains. But most of that is done in China by most companies. And, everybody's waiting for these great cars. He's got 1,800 cars, which, you go 1,800 cars, holy smoly. And then it shows up on 2 pallets.
Yeah.
And I think if I ran one of these businesses, I'd be going, that's it?
2 pallets. 2 pallets, that's it. Yeah.
I've been going through all this stress for 2 pallets?
Well, I don't know. I was kind of eyeing how 2 pallets are going to fit in the garage, and how I'm going to explain that to Mrs. Palmieri, but I think it's a little overwhelming.
Dear, we'll build get a nice tent for your car in the drive. Yeah.
That's right.
And of course, then you got to do all the packing and shipping.
Correct.
That'll keep you busy. That'll be a new adventure for you.
Oh, it already is. Doing a lot of research, buying supplies. I just placed an order for water activated tape and a rather expensive dispenser for that, to make sure that they're sealed and have got the HomeShops logo on it. And
okay,
it's all an exciting process.
Yeah. Is there water activated?
Yeah. See, I didn't know about that before I started this either.
No, I'll bite. What's water activated?
Well, have you ever ordered anything and it comes in a box that has paper tape with the logo of the company across the tape, and it's got fiberglass string inside of it?
Right.
That's called water activated tape, and you need a dispenser that will put warm water on it, and that activates the tape, and it adheres to the box. So it's tamper proof. The only way to destroy it is to destroy the box or cut it open.
Okay. Do you have boxes with the HomeShops logo on it or anything?
I don't think I'm going to do the HomeShops logo on the boxes themselves. I think the tape will have the logo on the box.
Okay, yeah, tape will have the logo. Okay.
And following your lead and Ron's Trains and Things lead, I've got stickers made up that say "Home Shop for Repair, Do Not Load." They're yellow stickers, just like you see on the side of freight cars. I'm going to stick one of those on each box.
If I remember, I should send you. Would you be interested in putting an AML sticker on them?
I would, absolutely.
All right.
And I still need one for my headset, Lyle.
Oh, that's right too. Okay. Have we covered everything?
And I'm not going to bring up the T-shirt.
Oh yeah. Okay, I'm going to write that on a.
Oops.
All right.
Oops.
But you got a headset, and you got
and
you got it on the air, so it's been a complete loss.
Well, I've gotten quite a bit of mileage out of this headset.
Well, that's good. You've been using it for other things. Excellent. That's what I've had a few people. I actually had one fella send me a message saying he was doing some other podcast or something, and he said, "Would it be okay if I use your headset?" And I'm like, "Yeah." It's not my headset. I gave it to you. It's yours to do.
You don't even put the black tape over to hide the sponsor logo.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I kind of felt bad because I didn't have that sticker on this headset, but I've done 4 podcasts so far, video podcasts with a freelance model railroader in Australia that asked me if I would participate in a couple.
Okay.
And I felt bad about not having that AML sticker in the video online.
You didn't use our headset, I hope.
I did.
You could see that.
It worked just fine.
You could see that one coming down the street.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It was like a double wide load, that one.
Yeah, that was like a double wide. Yeah, that was like no surprise one. Okay. So cool. So I apparently I owe you. I must have said something about sending you a shirt and a sticker. So I'm writing that down right now. Chris Palmieri.
I did get my own shirt from
good for
Midwest
you.
Model Railroader and a Bug, as a matter of fact.
So what size shirt do you wear?
Oh, I don't know online here. Let's go. I guess you're going to say it's skin tight anyway, so we'll go with extra large.
You like them skin tight, do you?
See how I beat him to the punchline, Bruce?
That's it.
Yeah, actually, you know what? That's not a good move. Beating me. You may know what's coming, but that's not a good move. Trust me. You may not. Now you might get a large, and you can wear it skin tight.
How did a small get in that package?
Yeah.
Jeez, I don't know.
Oh yeah, that brings. When you mentioned small, that reminds me of Kelly Fletcher, and he says he sent me. I said, "What's your shirt size?" And he said, "Small." And I said, "No, it's not." He said, "Yes, it is." I went, "No, it's not." He said, "Yes, it is." And I'm like, "No, medium is as far down as we're going. I can give you 3X. I can give you 4X. We're model railroaders, Kelly. Medium is as low as I'll go." Okay.
Smells like N scale or something.
Yeah. Small. Yeah, Kelly Fletcher's N scale.
Well,
what?
Speaking of Kelly Fletcher, a number of AML Nation members have been participating in HomeShops, and Kelly's one of them. He hosted three of our ambassador fleet cars for a photo shoot on his Rock Island Railroad. Very, very cool.
Yeah,
wonderful.
He does excellent work. He's a great modeler. Kelly, you're a great modeler. You're not a small, but you're a very excellent modeler.
Yes.
Just go to Dairy Queen more often. That's all you got to do.
There you go. The big blizzard.
Yeah. Start ordering the big blizzard. So you're on the list now. You've advanced to the list. Okay. So let's. So have we covered everything about HomeShops? Have we brought it up to date pretty much? What's the next car you're going to do after this one?
The next big order is going to be 86-foot boxcars.
And have you got the railroads picked out and everything?
Yeah, we're going to do 6 road names. One of them is going to be the Crescent Lines, which is the
club in New Orleans. Greg Chavanello.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we're going to do four numbers of that car, and that's going to be something we're excited about called the Founders Fleet. And each car, we've actually come up with a roster for 51 cars. You know, the club has been in existence for 60 years, and there's a lot of famous people that have come through there.
Okay, hang on. Back up now. You're losing me. So you can call it the Founders what?
The Founders Fleet.
Founders Sweep?
Fleet. Yes. All
right. Don't talk fast. I can't take it in if you talk fast. I've used to try that when I would get and talk to gentlemen with. I have a lot of questions, but it never worked. Okay, Founders Fleet. Mm-hmm. And there's because Crescent. What is it? Crescent.
Well, the railroad is called the Crescent Lines, and that is the freelance railroad of the Crescent City Model Railroad Club in New Orleans.
Right. And yeah, because I just was talking to Greg Chevino. I'm sending him a headset.
Good.
I should send him a shirt too. I should promise him a shirt that I don't send. That would be it. Yeah, because they got wiped out by the last hurricane.
They had some significant damage from Hurricane Ida.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about that. I feel bad for those guys.
They do have a GoFundMe. I have donated to that a little bit.
Oh yeah, let's look that up. How do you know? Do you know what it is? Do you know what?
I can find it. It's posted on the Crescent City Model Railroad Club, or CCMRC has a Facebook page, and I'm sure there's a link there. Member David Perkins set it up.
Crescent City, and yeah, we should help these guys out because they got wiped out. These guys, holy mackerel!
Yeah, there's a link to it first thing on the Crescent City Model Railroad Club. I think it's a large building. It used to be a firehouse, and I think the estimate on the roof damage is $25,000, which is what the goal is for their GoFundMe.
Yeah, so here it is. You go to Crescent. It's the URL is CCMRC. So Crescent City Model Railroad Club initial. C is in Charlie, C is in Charlie, M is in Mike, R is in Ralphie, C is in Charlie.com. We'll get you to their website. And from that, on the very front page, it talks about this sustained serious roof damage. And you click on, there's a fundraiser by David Perkins, and you click on that. And boom, you go, hey, look at that. So they need $25,000, and they've raised $4,000 already. I think I'm going to, wow, somebody's donated $500. That's awesome. I should donate from the AML Nation. From Martha's Lake.
There's also a link right on their Facebook page. Lionel, it's a pinned post on their Facebook page.
Okay, what's their Facebook page?
You just look, search for Crescent City Model Railroad Club, and it pops up.
My favorite part of the podcast where I was typing.
Play along with Lionel.
Yeah, type along with Lionel. Type along with
Lionel. We should have some music for this.
Yeah, exactly. We need music for type along. Right, it's their pinned post. It's the number one post. So boom, you can go and click on that, and it'll take you to the fundraiser. So yeah, so already they've raised $4,000, and so there's an anonymous of $500. Wow, look at that go! Look at these guys! Look at everybody go!
Good for them.
And it doesn't have to be a lot. There's some $10. I think I know Greg pretty well, and I think I can speak for him and. Donation as little as $5 would be very much appreciated. $5 to whatever. They would appreciate anything you can do to help them. It's not anything. Don't put it, if you donate $20, put your name down beside your $20 because they appreciate that and it shows that you're helping. Does that pretty much cover it, Chris? I think we got it, eh?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Anything will be appreciated. I've lived through many hurricanes when I lived down there, and man, just having 10 people who put $5 in, just having that list of people who support you grow it means a lot. So if you're motivated, by all means, it would be nice to see this roof get put on sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it's cool because it helps to motivation. Jerry Britton put a very nice thing on the AML fans page there a while back about how he got hit by lightning and did a ton of damage to his layout, and he was almost ready to trash the whole thing. And he said that the support from the AML Nation really helped him get through it. So anything where you can help people, that's what it does. It gives them hope and moves them forward. Absolutely.
I had considered maybe doing something where, $5 of each Crescent Lines car would go to that fund. But as I'm becoming more versed on timelines, I realize that those cars may not be here until 2023.
Yeah.
And this needs to be done sooner than that. So, but, if there's things people come up with, it would be cool. So
absolutely.
we have selected for the first 4 Founders Fleet cars. We're going to name one of the numbers will be named for Louis Schultz, who was one of the very first founding members of the Crescent Lines. And we're going to name one after Andy Sparandio, who was also an early member and an influential member. We're going to name one after Rick Bootall, and we're going to name one after Mr. Bill Williams. All four gentlemen, of course, are deceased. But they are names that everybody who's involved with the Crescent Lines at some point or another is familiar with. So those will be the first four, and hopefully we'll, over the years, revisit the founders fleet and of the Crescent Lines and do different car numbers with different names. And it's a concept I'd like to see maybe grow to other organizations. There's the Crescent Lines is certainly not the only, or the CCMRC is not the only club that's been around for a very, very long time with some history in the people that have passed through there. So I'd like to maybe see this become a model for other clubs. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah, man, I got to feel bad for these guys. Hammered by the ton of damage. And so, anyways, I'm going to interview. Holy mackerel! There's a picture here with, it's just these guys got hammered. All right, so Crescent Valley and any other railroads you're going to do?
We're going to do the Arkansas Valley, which is the only road that we've also done in the 4750, the PS 4750. So that'll be the second Arkansas Valley car that we come out with. We're going to do a freelance railroad called the Chinook Lines, which belongs to a fellow here in the Fort Worth area named Joe Bohannon. We're going to do the Maryland Southern, which is Doug Carey's freelance railroad. He lives up in the Maryland area. And I'm going to sneak in one of my own from that Meridian Speedway page. I'm going to do some green 86-foot boxcars lettered for the Natchez Trace and Orient Railway. And I've gotten a lot of questions and inquiries about a green car coming out, so we're gonna do that. Right. And I'm not sure if I've named all of them, but
so you do some sort of investigation, or how do the railroads become known to you by?
Most of them, and I think we touched on this on our last interview, but they're from social media, from either people I know directly. That I've gotten to see in person one way or the other, or they're on social media, on the freelance Facebook pages in particular.
So let's touch on my favorite subject while you brought it up. You brought it up, but it's my favorite subject. Do you just feel like the hobby has embraced you, and because of the fact that you can connect with so many people so easily through technology, that it's really changed has it improved the hobby for you?
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't even have attempted this without the ability to get the word out to the right audience that social media provides. Wouldn't even have tried.
Right. Very cool. You know what I'm doing now, Bruce?
No.
Stonewalling.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to avoid. All right. So, okay.
You're trying to avoid the topic of the discussion.
Yeah, we're trying. Okay. So,
So, sir, do you have an idea how fast you were going?
Well, it's black. The car's black. You talking to me? You mean the guy went by me? So anyways, let's get to this. So you very graciously suggested the idea because you got a PS1 40-foot boxcar project somewhere down the road.
Somewhere down the road. I don't know if y'all have seen them, but Tangent very recently released for the first time a 40-foot PS1 boxcar. And one thing that I don't want to say that I'm fighting, but a question that I hear a lot is, hey, are you going to do anything other than covered hoppers? Or are you going to do something? I've got to start with a first project. And right now I'm pigeonholed by just that project. And though a transition era or an era, a 40-foot boxcar era car was not in my initial startup budget plans for year one, I thought, I need to hurry up and see if I could just get some car going for this era. So I reached out to Dave Lelback with Tangent Models and asked if I could maybe just get a car in on his next 40-foot boxcar order. And he said, well, yeah, but I'm probably not going to place that next order till spring of 2022, which surprised me a little bit given the popularity of that car when he first released it. But he's got a lot of stuff in the pipeline. So once he told me that, I thought, well, by that time, by spring of 2022, I should have hopefully most of these hopper cars sold, and I'll have the posts are generating cash flow, and that might be the right timing to place another large order. So I'm kind of canvassing for really cool railroads to do a 40-foot offering if everything plays out as I kind of see it. I think it's going to be really exciting. And unlike Lionel's earlier point about social media, there is one really cool railroad that would lend itself greatly to a 40-foot boxcar that is almost invisible on social media, and it's this creation called the Allegheny and Lackawanna Southern. And it's because of that invisibility on Facebook that I've created a whole list of questions on paper here, because if we're going to do something right, I want to make sure that it's right and that all the due diligence has been taken place before we put out a product. There's a Virginian and Ohio Facebook page, and someone just posted a picture of a Menards V&O boxcar, and Menards did not contact either of the McClellans. They said there's no copyright on the logo. They just went out and did it. That's the far other end of the spectrum from where HomeShops wants to be. We, if we're going to do a car, we're going to reach out to the car owner, the road owner, or they're no longer around, whoever's in custody of that road, and make sure that it fits and that it's the right car and that it's in the right place in the roster. And so that takes some due diligence and some questions, and that's kind of what I put together for you to kind of look at in advance.
That's pretty cheesy. So Menards did a V&O boxcar?
They did a V&O boxcar.
That is cheesy. I mean, and that wouldn't be that hard to.
Well, no, I'm actually in talks with Brad McClellan and this 40-foot boxcar project that we're talking about now. You may very well have a V&O pier in that release, but it's going to be one that is done, with this same list of questions having gone through, with Brad, and he's talking to Alan and, gets his sign off and everything. So that's the right way to do it.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's the Virginian and Ohio boxcar in O scale.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's a high rail car, but it's a Virginian and Ohio car. Man, that is cheap. That is really cheesy because, I mean, somebody there must know about model railroading to know enough that the Virginian and Ohio is something, and then to just go ahead and make a car without contacting anybody, without trying to contact, because it wouldn't be that hard if you know anything about model railroading to eventually track down Alan McClellan or his son Brad. Wow.
It's not hard.
Gee whiz. I'm disappointed. Yeah. I'm disappointed in that. I think that's a very cheesy thing to do.
But the sad part is the guys who care about it won't be buying them because realize when they go, oh, Virginia, how pretty cool. I better get one of those.
Yeah, exactly. That's too bad.
Well, and the reason I told you that story is so that you'd feel good about the paperwork.
Oh, okay, all right, that's cool.
No, it's all coming in.
Yeah, well, no, I'm actually, to be completely honest with you, Bruce, don't we try to be as transparent as possible here?
It's our motto.
Absolutely.
We're like a window. We try to be transparent.
We're like a window. We're like a dirty windshield on a '62 Chevy Biscayne. We try to be transparent, but we've been traveling through the desert. I hate that part. On a horse with no name? On a horse with no. I hate that part of the podcast when I get to. There'll be parts of when I'm editing it. When I'm listening. I listen to every podcast before I put it out, and many of them now, believe it or not, are getting good enough that it doesn't require a whole lot of editing. Editing. That's a hard word to say. But I hate those parts where I get really boring. Because the only show note I can think to put down is, a minute 45 or 30. I'm really boring. And that's what I was doing there. Okay, so so I just wanted to say I was very, very honored that you would ask me, and I think it is a super cool idea, and I would be totally honored if you went ahead and did that.
Well, you've just answered question one, or the first part is, are you interested in the project? And what I want to do with HomeShops is put things in people's hands, model railroad wise, that have some history and have something, that can be learned. And what you've done with your columns in MR and the era that was really popular. I mean, people would look at the MR article, and I bought a copy of it off of eBay, the primary one that has the ANLS featured. It has the same appeal and luster, in my opinion, as the V&O. And if anybody remembers the '90s and MR, they'll remember an ANLS car. I just think that needs to be brought back so that the generation of freelancers coming up who, for some reason, Bruce, I don't know, Bruce, if you can tell me why there's not an ANLS Facebook page, but
I would say because it's probably too much work for a person to be involved doing it.
Oh, well,
it's probably because there's a modeler's life page.
Oh, okay.
Keep them busy enough.
So keeps them occupied. Yes.
If somebody goes to a club, and sees an ANLS boxcar in a train, that'll start a conversation. Oh, by the way, that was it was a thing, a big deal in the '90s, and this fella named Lionel Strang did a damn good job creating that concept and getting it out there, and it actually did quite a bit for the hobby. So that kind of anchor in history is something that appeals to me as far as rolling into bringing to life something from the past.
I think it opens a huge area for you by doing a transition era cars, because there's a ton of layouts, like you say, from the 80s and 90s that, man, it's just a huge. That's a really good idea. The whole thing is a great idea. I am so excited that it's going well for you so far. I understand. I feel for you that it's a struggle to get through this time because of everything that's going on. But I think I'm really glad to hear that it's going the way it is, because I think it's a cool idea. Anybody I've talked to thinks it's a cool idea.
Well, I appreciate that. My timeline is, I'm thinking, am I on track to get this to where I want it to be in 5 years? And I think we absolutely are. So even though the timelines are long, we're going to get these products and we're going to roll them into bigger and better things. So
these this painting that you had done, are you putting out prints or posters?
They're going to be 18 by 24 lithograph posters.
Okay, so it's like a lithograph. It's a proper. Are they numbered?
65 of them will be. So there's going to be two different versions, and Robert West is the artist. And he just posted on his Facebook page 2 days ago a video of them coming off of the press in Georgia. Very cool video to see. And he FedExed one right to me. So what we're going to do is I'm getting 470 of them. And there's different levels of art collectors and interest. And what I've decided to do is match the number of each road number of the hopper car that's in this car. There's 65 of each one done. And we're going to do 65 of them as signed and numbered, and they'll be embossed with Robert West's Steel Rails Gallery logo. Artist proofs, they'll be called. And those will sell for a higher price point, because that's what the collectors are really going to want. Haven't identified the exact price yet, but I'm thinking it'll be in the 80-ish range.
Right. If I have any chance of getting one of those, that would be very cool. And if Tony Cook wants one too, or has a chance of getting one, I'd like to have a lower number than Tony.
Lower than Tony's?
Yeah.
Just to kind of match the IQ there, or how does that go?
No, just so I can always say to Tony, I got mine's a lower. I got a lower number than you.
I believe we could work something out.
Okay, because I said it for I'll say, well, he mailed mine out first.
And then the rest of them, the bulk of them, I'm going to make available. I think the price will be $45, but I'm not sure. And, it's roughly just a little bit less than the cost of a car. But what I really want is for this painting to be available and attainable to anybody who wants it. And, man, I've got it in my office right now, and there are 18 employees in the painting.
Wow.
All doing different things.
Yeah, I was looking at it earlier. It's very, very cool.
And, it's if you're not listening to a podcast, or even if you are, but you're sitting at your workbench and you're decaling a car or whatever, it really sets the tone in the atmosphere for, what we as modelers do every day. And I'm really excited about it. And by the way, I'm going to be bugging you, Lionel.
Cool.
To do to interview Robert West.
I think we should do that. I think that would be a fun thing to do.
He's writing a couple of books. He's been doing railroad art for, I think, 47 years now professionally. And he's got plenty of plenty of things to talk about. As I've gotten to work with him. This has been an 8-month project from when I first commissioned him to when this painting arrived.
So we'll get him.
I've learned.
We should
Go
get
ahead.
him. We should get him a headset then, and
You should get him a headset
we'll get him
and
hooked up. And
get him hooked up. And man, his insight and stories are and what he would have to tell you, I think would be really good stuff.
does he speak up?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
He's not shy.
Okay, that's perfect.
Oh no, he's not shy. Just look him up on his Facebook page. He posts videos all the time, and he's not quiet.
Perfect. That's what we need. We need people to speak up. Just like you. You speak up, and that's exactly what we were just talking to a young fella, Steve Tuff, who Bruce and I both know his father, and he's the president of the Hamilton Model Railroad Club here near Toronto, and Oski Wee Wee, go Tiger Cats, and yeah, he suggested he started a new company, and he wanted to know if he could be on the podcast, and he speaks right up, and absolutely, you just want people that speak up and can tell their story.
Well, I kind of put the bug in his ear that I was going to put the bug in your ear, and he was all about it. So
was he?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
so
cool.
I'll foster that. I'll pay forward what Matt Martin did by hooking us up here.
All right,
a while ago.
you get him going there, and we'll get him. We'll get working on that because it would be a fun interview.
Very good.
You know who Bruce, and Chris. You know who I'm going to be. Tony Cook and I are working on getting on the podcast.
No,
is Shotgun Tom Kelly.
Really? There you go.
Shotgun Tom Kelly is the 6 o'clock DJ, I think, on the 60s on Sirius
XM.
Yep, and
he's an 0-30 modeler.
And he's an 0-30 modeler, a huge model railroader, and boom, we're going to get him on here, I think.
There you go.
He might even have heard of the ANLS.
He might have, yeah. You never know. It's always rewarding when people talk about the layout, because I would like to do a shelf layout of it someday. And okay, let's take a look at these questions here.
Well, the first question, I guess, is: do you have any good photos of any ANLS 40 PS1 box cars?
I must have somewhere. I mean,
I did not see any in that article on that. And I perused as much as I could find online, and I don't find.
Well, I have a couple.
Not able to find a good one.
I have a couple. What I should do is send you an actual car.
I would use that as a guide. That would be greatness.
All right, now I'm gonna have to add some skin.
He's kind of making your life a living hell, isn't he?
He kind of is the question.
Yeah, I want a T-shirt. I want stickers, and I want a box car.
I know.
Holy cow!
It's just a parade of Chris Palmieri stuff. Am I saying your name right? Is it Chris?
It is. It is Chris.
Is it Palmieri or yeah?
It's Palmieri. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty easy name to pronounce. A lot of vowels, but pretty easy. What's the heritage of Palmieri?
It's Italian Sicilian.
Okay, cool. And we didn't mention. Watch how I do this, Chris. Yeah, the thing that everybody would be interested in is that Chris Palmieri, his full-time job, his day job, the job where the way he brings home groceries is he works for a large Class 1 railroad in the lower 48 of the United States of America.
This is true. Yes.
This is true. And someday when you retire, we'll talk all about it.
We could talk in detail about it when I retire or get fired, one of the two.
All right. Well, we'll hope for the retired. Are you going to be a 40-year man?
I don't know.
But it's a possibility.
Well, I hired young when I was 23, so I'll have 30 in when I'm 53. So you don't get full retirement until you're 60. So we'll see how that plays out. But maybe HomeShops will bridge the gap. We'll see.
So if you made it to 60, say you stayed till 60, and you decided, okay, you stayed to 60 and you've got 37 years, and do you think you'd just do the other 3 so you could say you were a 40-year man?
Unless I get a really cool T-shirt from AML, maybe no.
Okay. All right.
Oh, the future lies on you.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So the second question was, so I'll send you a boxcar. So we got that figured.
Okay.
Am I still modeling the ANLS? I am not actively modeling the ANLS right now, but the ANLS is part of my heart, part of my life. So I would imagine that someday, if nothing else, I would love to have. Actually, what I keep kicking around in my head is doing like a shelf layout in O scale of the ANLS, just because you could do great photos of it.
Well, you can have Menards do your car.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That is so cheesy that they would produce a V&O car like that. Man, oh
Yeah.
man. That is just like, I understand that not everybody understands model railroading or scale. I guess there's a difference. The thing I love about the hobby is there's so many I describe it as I love to play hockey. I still love to play ball hockey, but I could I never even came close to being an NHLer, but I was still a hockey player. So I fit in that genre somewhere, and that's exactly the same as model railroading. I mean, okay, we got the guys that are the best scale modelers going, but everybody else below that is still a model railroader. So I guess they just didn't understand the untouchable man. Just to all of a sudden do a V&O car like that, that just blows me away.
I'm surprised I haven't seen anything on social media slagging that yet, but I guess I'll have to pay a little more attention.
Yeah. So I would say I am absolutely in my heart because I want to continue modeling the A&L. Not actively right at this minute, but if I was to start again, the ANLS will never leave. The ANLS will always be there.
And that's what you're saying there makes perfect sense. That's how I feel about the railroads of my Meridian Speedway. I may delve into it for a while, and if you look at the blog posts, you'll see there's some years where I have quite a few posts, and a few years may go by and I have moved on or done other things, but it's always there right where I left off. And it sounds like the ANLS is the same way for you.
Yeah, and the other thing that I had a little branch line called the Peterson Coal Company, and it was 2 Atlas RS1s that I detailed up and painted basically Santa Fe red and with white tiger stripes, like from the New York Central on the end sills. And my son's name is Peter, so I called it the Peterson Coal Company. So I can also see me, doing that too, or and having an ANLS boxcar like those two. That'll never change. I will never start all of a sudden modeling Conrail. I love Conrail, Dave, but I would never start modeling another railroad if I ever do any modeling, with locomotives or like I was looking actually. I was talking to my buddy David Start, and we were looking at the fact I didn't realize that Tangent had undecorated kits of their caboose. And I can see me buying those a couple of those kits and painting them up as ANLS cabooses. That would just be a fun thing to do. So, yes, I will. That's what I should do. I can buy, I have it on my list to buy a couple of those Tangent cars and start building those and painting them in ANLS colors. So then you could say, yes, I still am modeling the ANLS. Let's see, next question. If so, do you have some current ANLS photos we can share on social media? Yes, I could find you some ANLS photos. I have many slides that I could have. I have lots of ANLS photos. Not current, but they are.
They're as current as they're going to be.
They're as current as they're going to be. They were taken either for the magazine or for my own. So I got tons of ANLS photos. Are you still there, Chris? Did he leave?
Oh, I pulled a Bruce. I was on mute there.
Yeah, I kind of.
As soon as you start your caboose project, you will have a current ANLS project to share.
Exactly. So
that's exciting, actually.
It is actually. Yeah, I'm definitely going to buy one of those. I'm probably going to buy a couple of those.
Maybe 5 years from now, we'll be able to do a Tangent factory run of ANLS cabooses.
That would be cool. That would be very cool.
Exactly. Yeah.
That would be very cool. So actually, I thought it'd be fun to buy one of those Tangent cabooses. I haven't done a ton of modeling since I started the podcast, and I think everybody needs to understand, as far as I'm concerned, I'm as involved in the hobby as I've ever been. It's just that I've enjoyed the podcast so much, and in meeting so many people and bringing it to so many people that, that's what I've been concentrating on. But I was thinking, man, I could buy one of those Tangent and just, start working away on it and post the pictures and be proud of the fact that I'm not as good at it as some people. And
it's man, that's going to be fun. And if
the answer to the photos question is, if you did do the car and you needed photos, I got a ton of photos we can use.
Okay, very good.
We're all ANLS 40-foot boxcars painted boxcar red or their other colors. Boxcar red. That's what I would prefer. It's the boxcar red. I don't think they ever would have been painted other colors. That never really grabbed me.
No, the NLS was pretty
bland.
They were frugal.
Yeah, they were frugal. Yeah, we were pretty bland. Yeah.
The only splashy number they went for is when they got those RDCs and did them.
That's right.
That was about it.
Yeah. So I would say boxcar red. Although what I like is different shades of boxcar red. I think it looks cool when you got a bunch of cars that are different shades of boxcar red for the same railroad. I think that's a cool look too.
Totally prototype, depending where they got painted.
Exactly.
Well, and the reason I asked that question specifically, I could very well do 5, 6, 7 road names, and they could all be boxcar red. But some railroads, did have a variety, like the VNO. They had boxcar red and blue 40-foot boxcars. And in talking with Brad, they were actually kind of mined all in that 4,000 series of boxcars. You would have brown ones, and some of them were repainted blue. And the conversation about frugality was, the gallons of blue paint cost just as much as the gallons of brown paint. It's just not what the manufacturers were pushing. So as I tried to get a feel for what the ANLS was from what I could find online and from the magazine articles, what sticks in my head is that green color on the locomotives. And I think I saw a red caboose and a black hopper. And so it, in the interest of diversifying, if possible, the overall offering of these 40-foot boxcars, that's why I asked. But if that's all they are a boxcar red, we'll do a boxcar red boxcar.
Yeah, I would think it'd be. Did I hear in that answer somewhere along the line you could have 2 shades of boxcar red?
Over different releases, yes. Or are you talking about amongst the other road names?
No, if you had several different numbers.
I believe that would qualify as a different paint scheme.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But that doesn't mean, if we were to next year do a different another ANLS red, that we would be
exactly
opposed to. Because actually, I've had quite a few conversations with Dave Wellback and a fellow that lives here that is also employed with me for our day jobs that does a lot of the painting and paint chips for Tangent. And we had a very lengthy conversation about boxcar red and just how much of a moving color that is to nail down because of the way they weather. And that was, at a time when I believe lead was coming out of paint, so colors shifted much quicker than they did otherwise and than they do now. What might look like a brand new Northern Pacific boxcar might fade in 3 or 4 years to look like what would be a new Milwaukee boxcar or something like that.
Right,
so
yeah.
to your point, it would make perfect sense to offer over time different shades of boxcar red in the same fleet.
Yeah, because my railroad was based on the Thomas subdivision of Western Maryland in West Virginia, out of Elkins, West Virginia. And the thing I love about those old, you'll find color pictures from the 60s, the 50s and 60s, but particularly the 60s. And I loved seeing, those long strings of boxcar red hoppers. And, I don't know, somehow that just, I was always going to be, it was never going to be any different other than the hoppers were boxcar red. Any boxcar was going to be boxcar red. It was just like it was always going to be that way. And I just always thought it was a cool, maybe different logos occasionally, and you'd throw in different cars. But my cars were always going to be boxcar red. And I never really, if I could change the shade just a little bit, I always thought that was, if you could have a string of 20 hoppers and it seemed like there was 3 different shades of boxcar red, it would be, and just enough to you could identify that there were. I always thought that was
I think it's a cool look too.
Okay. Where would the logo, placement, slogan, display, paint scheme variants? What would be? You two talk amongst you guys talk amongst yourselves, and I'm going to get an ANLS boxcar. So, right.
Yeah, I'm thinking the draft he sent is pretty close, but I recall the logo may be a bit bigger and more centered vertically on the end, and my recollection, it's been a while since I've seen the layout, of course,
sure.
but we'll know in a minute. But I think the logo is a bit bigger and more centered on the car side, is my recollection.
Well, once he sends the car, we can certainly match it. Yeah. But one thing about fleets, along with the shifting of color, even though we standardize and we try to go economy with our schemes.
Oh yeah.
You could have the logo on the left side for a couple hundred cars, sure. And then it moves to the right side. So,
yeah. Yeah,
That's
sure.
kind of what I'm
Sure,
thinking.
it's a fun layout to run.
Did you get to operate on it?
I operated on it for quite a while, yeah, because I was operating on it for a few years before I moved up here, and then
Okay.
until the end. So yeah, we used to get there once a month. We had a blast.
You didn't happen to take any pictures when you were there, did you?
No, because you're just showing up to operate
Well,
trains.
sure.
Right?
Yeah.
You're not taking pictures, and of course that was sort of back in pre-digital days, so you weren't lugging a camera around to take pictures and that kind of thing. But it was certainly a lot of fun. And I can remember seeing ALS boxcar red boxcars here or there, not a lot because it was a primary coal hauling road, but there's a few out there, and the red cabooses, and then the paint schemes on the locomotives. If you read his article on the paint schemes, how he evolved those through time, and those Peterson Coal Company units are nice paired looking units. So
I think I did find some pictures of those coal units, the Peterson Coal Company engines on.
Yeah, there's a couple in the articles somewhere. I was stumbling through that the other day, and then found one. There's a couple pictures somewhere but they're a nice unit. Yeah. Ran that train a few times, up to the mine and back.
So you can testify it was real then, Lionel.
The logo was real. It was there.
Oh, okay, good.
This just in, all the boxcars are packed away.
Oh.
But I went and got myself two ALS.
Yeah.
And I think the lettering was, the number and then the initials above that. The logo would be it.
And I'm thinking, remember the boxer, the logo was a little bit bigger, more centered. Was it on the right end?
Let me look at the picture that he sent.
And all I did was just create a rough mock-up to start the conversation.
And a fine job you did, too.
And would it have even had Allegheny and Lackawanna Southern written out on the other side? One of the conversations that I've had with a lot of the road owners that I've worked with, because some of them were like, well, I'd like to have a car with just reporting marks, or one with just a logo. I've suggested that it might be a mistake to put a car out there that somebody could look at and have to say, what railroad is this? Because they may not have heard of it.
That's a good point.
And if they just see the logo, that I really like that logo with A&LS in it, somebody who sees that car and it doesn't have Allegheny and Lackawanna Southern on it will have to ask, what is the A&LS? And at least for the first car that we offer for each road number, I'd like the road name to be on it.
That's brilliant. So you're pretty close to where you are right now. Only like Bruce says, I think the logo would be a little bit bigger. But man,
we can make the logo bigger.
Yeah, and
we'll do boxcar brown.
Yeah.
One thing, have you had a chance to look at the Tangent boxcars? The 40-foot boxcars. If you go to the Tangent website.
Yeah. Okay.
If I go to Tangent scale models.
Yep. And
let's just go to.
It's the PS1 9-foot door, standard 40-foot PS1 9-foot door.
Yep. Let's look at the C&W car. You'll notice it's got black ends.
That's cool.
And a black roof with the overspray.
Yeah.
And if you were to look at his Northern Pacific car, it would have black ends and it would have silver roof with overspray.
I know that overspray is cool.
That's very, very cool. And that's that's one of those things that until very, very recently you wouldn't come to even think is possible in a manufactured car. But if in a string of cars, if you've already got a fleet of 40-foot boxcars from various manufacturers, you've got one that has those features on it in train with the others, it would really stand out. So
yeah, that is cool. That overhead is really cool.
That would be a detail we'd work out. Would we want to put black ends on it like that, or would we want to have the black roof with overspray or the silver roof with overspray?
Yeah, I like the Milwaukee Road one with the black ends and the silver roof with overspray. That is a sharp.
That is a sharp car.
You see that, Bruce?
Yeah,
that's a sharp car. And I like your how you said the boom done. We figured that out. All right, let's go questions here.
I think this is going to be a great car.
I think this is going to be a great car, and I'm excited already. Let's see, be a logo permanence. What font? New Times. Or what is it?
New Times Roman.
Yeah. Was it railroad? Isn't there a railroad?
No, it was Times Roman I used, I think, when I did those.
But I thought there was a railroad.
There's a railroad Roman. That's not the one.
Okay.
There was a railroad Roman. I think that's what Southern Pacific was.
I'll have I'll send you a sheet of deck. Oh, let me macro.
You got to be sent like a container his way.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah.
I don't know if they'll stop decals at the border. They might just let decals across. I'm not sure.
Everybody's a funny
Yeah, customs issue.
Funny guy, eh?
I've been listening.
One Jim.
Fantastic.
Okay, so all right, yeah, we'll go with the Times Roman. I'm going to send you a sheet in your hot little hand.
Okay. That we can scan and have matched exactly.
How long has it been since you had decals made? A long time. I haven't, because I used to get them made by a guy that was very popular. I'm going to see if talk amongst yourselves for a minute, see if I can find a sheet of decals.
Well, the reason I asked that question,
I can remember, but I don't recall the guy's name. But yeah,
it was probably Rail Graphics. Ron.
It was Rail Graphics.
I'm sure it was him, and he went out of business. Ended that maybe 10 years ago, and and that's actually who did my Meridian Speedway roads decals originally. And right when he announced he was going to shut down, I reached out to him, and he sent me a PDF of the artwork for those files. And I don't know if Lionel had done that, but that's why I asked, because if that, rather than reinvent the wheel, if that artwork does exist in some form.
Have you guys ever heard of Rail Graphics?
Rail Graphics, yes.
Actually, I still had my. So that is Rail. It was Rail Graphics, and what was his name, Ron?
I've got to look it up real quick.
Yeah, Ron something or other. Good, nice guy, super guy. Easy to work.
I loved working with him.
Easy to work with. So yeah. And I've often thought that if I was to get more decals made, I'd go to Bill Brillinger of Precision Design.
It was Ron Roberts, I believe.
I think you're right. Let's see. Do you have any vector art for ANLS logos, freight car decals, Bruce?
No.
Okay, we don't.
That would be a no. Well, we will by the time this project is over.
There you go. Do you have an ANLS freight car roster? Not really. I numbered the cars in order. All the hopper cars started in the 4000 series. No, they didn't.
Okay.
Some of them, each kind of car started in it, but it seems to me the box cars started in the 6000s. There were only 4 digits. How many would the 40-foot box cars or the ANLS have? Well, they had. I envisioned the railroad was a north-south route. Originally intended to run from Erie, Pennsylvania, down into West Virginia, but it ran out of money somewhere along the way, near Pittsburgh, and so I imagined it to be a reasonably successful railroad, but nothing. So I don't know. Well, I'll find a railroad and see of that era and see how many boxcars they have. I don't know, maybe 100. Would that 100 be a number?
That would definitely be a number. I think it might be a little small, but it would be a number. But we definitely want to make sure that whatever cars we produce all fall, within the range that would have been within your roster.
Yeah. What would be a good number series for the cars? Yeah, I think it was in the 6000s I did. Well, I'll dig out one of them, and because I know I was very careful with the numbering of my freight cars to have it make sense and to follow. Every car I did, I followed a number pattern. So I would think. Actually, I'd like it to start in the 8th.
That's the thing about owning your freelance railroad is you can change the script at any time.
Yeah, but the box cars would only be 4 numbers.
Okay.
Let's see. Would ANLS have been the only reparting marks used, or would cars have been? Nope, that would have been. Yeah, ANLS would have been.
Okay.
And then your standard capacity, and it's actually very cool, having been I don't know what's the way a reasonably successful model railroader from the 90s, and to kind of have I never stepped away from it, but I haven't worked heavily on the railroad for several years, and now you kind of look at all this stuff and you kind of go, yeah, that's cool, I did that right. But nowadays there's so much more, like I was making some pretty nice cars and for back then, but nowadays were there any dedicated customers, captive pools for these? Nope, none of that. But it would be cool to make some unique stenciling.
That inspiration also came from the V&O. They had a couple of very small dedicated pools of cars, I'm finding out, within their larger fleet. And they had, stenciling some of them for one type of service or another. So
is Brad McClellan receptive to your idea?
Brad, very much so. But we won't make that announcement here. officially.
Bruce, let's take that out.
Yes.
All right.
Another note for you.
Yeah,
Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. If you're talking about the 40-foot boxcar, yes, we can talk about that. He's receptive to that.
Oh, okay. He's just not receptive to you. What wasn't he receptive? There was something you were okay. Anyways, he was receptive to you producing a 40-foot 40-foot.
Oh no, he's been receptive to everything. Just the 40-foot boxcar is the only one I can talk about right now.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I think that would be. You wouldn't be able to make enough of those, I don't think.
I don't think so.
Let's see. What would the A&L inspection city shops codes? Well, we'll have to figure that.
That's a detail we definitely go through with Tangent. All the COTS labels and shop codes are all very specific, even in the freelance world. They make it look like a car that would be on this
I guess
railroad.
the question is, when did the COTS come in?
And even if it's a pre-COTS car, they still have a paint location, or there's always some little
St.
detail.
Cloud shops or something like that. You see, yeah. Cause you excess grief?
No, you're talking in acronyms. So there's people out there going, "What is COTS? What does that mean?" Anybody? Would you like? Who would like?
I think it's Consolidated Oil and Testing Stencil label.
I believe that's what it is.
And it's basically a black square on a car where, as cars were shopped, all the pertinent date and location information of required air inspections and whatnot were placed on the car.
COTS is more accurately described as a maintenance process, single car test when it verifies the air brake. Something like that, anyways. Yeah, and there was that black stencil thing, yeah. C stood, this is possibly it. C stood for...
And even before that stencil became the place it was required on the cars to put it, these inspections still occurred, and they would just, slap that, that marking randomly on the car, either on the truck or, on the underframe somewhere or wherever. And so the COTS stenciling, it just put all that in one specific location on the car. So some of those markings with the locations would have been on cars prior to, just scattered in different places.
We'd have to ask our car man.
You would know.
Yeah, he's a car man. For the, maybe I can't remember.
I think it is Kansas City Southern.
Yeah. Thoughts to boost social media presence? Sure. Knock yourself out.
Okay, blank check accepted and received. Thank you.
Has any ANLS content been published since you stopped doing your MR column? Not that I can recall. I would say, yeah, there's been a ton of it, but it's been done via the podcast. The ANLS has probably gotten more press since I started the podcast than it did all the years I was doing the column. However, I do believe there's a chance that there will be a mention of it in Dave Abeley's new yard book. He's doing a book called Railroad Yards or something like that. He's doing a book all about railroad yards, and there's a chance some ANLS material may appear in that. So then it would be.
That would be fantastic.
That'd be perfect timing. Because his book's, he's working away on his book, and he's, those take a couple of years to do. Boom. There you go.
And that question was primarily for me to, if there was something out there, give me another place to look for reference and resources.
I will help you. I'm eating a donut.
One of the Texas jobs?
Yeah, but not the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
Just the whole?
Yeah, well, no, a piece of it. I apologize to everybody. That's very rude to eat and talk at the same time.
But I feel like you've done that on
spectacular donuts. So
I feel like you've done that on Ken Patterson's show.
On Ken Patterson's show? Yeah, for sure.
I think you did.
Yeah.
Yes, the donut saved that show.
Yeah, the donut saved that show. Quick, call in the donuts. So respectfully, Christopher M. Palmieri. What's the M stand for?
Michael.
Attaboy. Can I call you Mikey?
You know what? That'll be just fine. I may not answer, but you can call me that.
This has been a great podcast. I think we're going to make this has been a great podcast. I feel like this one went better than the first one because you know what I always find? I love getting the thing. There's two problems with the podcast now. 7.5 years in, there's two problems. I've made so many great acquaintances. I want to constantly have these people back on the podcast. And the other thing I have found is that once a person's been on the podcast, got used to me, got used to being on the podcast, got used to hearing themselves, they're much more relaxed, which makes an even better podcast or a better interview after that. And I feel this one has been great. I think we've had a ball talking about all this. all this stuff, and great fun. Yeah, so I'm totally honored that you would even think to ask me.
Well, I'm equally as honored that you have agreed to be part of the beginning of this. I think it's going to be awesome.
And I want to help you as much as I can over the years to help you make this a roaring success, because I think it's a really cool idea. I think it's tell us more about. Okay, so before we go away, let's get back
Sure.
to tell us more about freelance model railroads, because there's a Facebook page you're part of.
Oh, there's several. The primary one is very simple, just freelance model railroads.
And how did you like get involved social media wise in freelance model railroads? Like, what do you remember? What the catalyst was that kind of got you?
I think I was very late to join into social media. I don't think I even opened up my first Facebook account till 2015. I think it was 2015. And I had made a career change that we'll talk about in some future podcasts. That it changed a lot of things, but it allowed me to get back into the hobby, which prior professional roles just never gave me the time to do. And so as I made the decision, I was going to get back into the hobby and pick up with the Meridian Speedway concept where I left off. I did the website and just to kind of give me a blueprint place to put things. And people said, you really need to get on with this Facebook. There are other people who are freelancers out there, and there's some really neat stuff. And, as I asked, well, I still don't understand, what is Facebook and why do I need it? And people showed me a few things, and I thought, oh, wow, there actually is a community out there, and it's people with really great freelance concepts, things that I think are just as interesting as mine, if not more so. So, I don't know exactly what the catalyst moment was, but I went from being completely anti-social media to just embracing it with regards to
so this is all
flow of ideas.
So this has all kind of happened in the last 5 years, pretty much.
Yes.
So really, the whole idea of doing the freelance cars with Tangent and the whole thing and you joining social media has all transpired over the last 5 years, since 2016, say?
Well, me getting back getting into social media and discovering the freelance world that was out there would be yes, over the last 5-6 years. The idea for this company and selling cars, that's much newer. I probably didn't start thinking about that till maybe 2 years ago or so. And actually, since we last talked, there is a new Facebook page you gentlemen should look at. It's called 3-Notch Custom Freelance Cars.
Free Notch?
3, Notch.
Is it a web page?
No, this is a Facebook page, a Facebook group. So I think we mentioned a fellow named Patrick Harris in our earlier interview, episode 174, I do believe.
3-Notch Custom Freelance Cars, guy. There we go.
Uh-huh. And this fella, Patrick Harris, whom I've known for a very, very long time, started making Accurail runs. And he didn't have his own Facebook page. He was just sharing on the generic freelance pages. And I think I kind of talked him into creating a Facebook page just for what he's doing. But I think he's now up to nearly 30 different cars that he is custom freelance cars that he has had Accurail do. And I started watching the popularity of these cars, and they sell out. Most of them in a day or two, if not hours. And that's when, and I started buying his cars. It started out just because he was a friend and I wanted to support him. And of course, I don't need to do that anymore because I can not purchase one and they'll still sell out. Now he's developed that much of a following within hours. But that kind of got me to thinking I'd like to see some of this stuff done in a higher quality car. And that is an idea that I was kicking around most of 2020. And of course, 2020 with COVID and everything else, that got me back to my paint booth. And I started painting a lot of cars. I think I painted 45 cars for myself in 2020. And that really got me thinking about, kicking up a notch, if you will, what Patrick Harris was doing with the Accurail cars. And he had a couple of releases come out in December of 2020 that just sold. I mean, just instantly. And I thought, man, I've got to do this. I've got to put some feelers out. I just know the market is there. I know that people are hungry for higher quality freelance cars. So that whole idea was kind of an epiphany right around the holidays, Christmas, New Year's of 2020. And so I made that a New Year's resolution. And I reached out to Dave Lelbeck and just instant support. And we've had a great working relationship since then.
Just Bruce, I know I just beat thing to death, but I mean, all that he's just talked about in this hobby is absolutely freaking. I get overwhelmed just listening to him talk about, okay, the guy with 3-notch custom cars, and I've never even heard of that. And the other night, Bruce, are you still there? Bruce is on mute. Bruce, did you fall asleep?
No, I was on mute because I was coughing and hacking. I forgot to mute myself.
Oh, okay, there you go. So the other night we were talking when we were doing fans 45 A and B.
Yes.
We found that you led me on to that website. What was it? OST, I think it was.
OST Publications.
Oh,
yes.
My God. And that thing was fantastic. I just can't get over. And now all this stuff, Chris, you were just talking about. And what I was trying to say there when you were telling the story is all this has transpired for you basically in the last 5 or 6 years, from where you went and you found the social media and you got more involved and encouraged about having a freelance railroad. And then all of a sudden you decided, you went and you started producing actual custom run cars. I mean, this is a fantastic story when you think about it.
It's surprising that I'm in the middle of it, but I am, and it's because of all the factors you said.
That's much.
Bruce, I've got a question for you, if I may.
Sure.
If I was able to talk Patrick Harris into creating a 3-notch Facebook group, do you think I can talk Lionel Strang into an A&LS Facebook group?
Not a hope in hell.
Attaboy.
I just thought I'd ask.
Well, you know what it is? The podcast is a fair amount of work, but I love doing the podcast. I have yet to lose even one iota of enthusiasm. Sometimes I get overwhelmed. Sometimes I get a little behind. But as far as my initial enthusiasm for doing the podcast, that has never waned at 7.5 years later. But I have to focus on doing the podcast because otherwise, I'll fall behind. I want to get ahead, but it's hard to get ahead. And, because it's just like, I'll be, and I thought, geez, I'm not doing anything tonight. And then Chris Palmieri, you started a conversation with me and Tony Cook, and that kind of clicked on me. And then, oh, yeah, I wanted to talk to Chris, and he had that list of questions. Hey, Chris, you doing anything tonight? And no, you're not. So then another podcast is made, but I haven't had any. Tonight we've talked to Gordy Robinson. We did 2 segments with him. We talked to a fella, Steve Tuff, that we're going to get him going on. Going to send him a headset. And now I've done another great podcast with you. So like that evening is gone. So it's like, yeah, I'd love to have an A&LS page, but I think part of it is I'm kind of a perfectionist, I guess, when I do stuff. So, I mean, that's how the podcast became as good as it did, because I wanted good sound. And so I get too immersed in it, and I wouldn't be able to give it the proper attention that I'd want to give it.
Yeah. And you wouldn't want anybody else doing it, because then you'd find, exactly. I wish you hadn't done that. And
yeah, I'm kind of one of those kind of people where I kind of, if I find somebody,
if it's got your name on it, you want it to be right.
Yeah. You know what the basic problem, this is an interesting discussion. I'm not sure we've ever really had this discussion. So, Chris, if the podcast suddenly ends and everybody gets mad,
send your email to Chris at I screwed up the podcast.com.
Yeah, there you go. You know what it is that I have employees. And if I have an employee, Barb, Al, all my employees, I feel like I can tell them and direct them to do what I want without feeling guilt or anything. It's like, this is your job. I pay you properly. I pay you well for doing your job. You've been here for many years. You know you're paid well. So if I tell you I want something done, I want something done. Well, the problem with the podcast and pages and things like that, if you ask somebody to volunteer to help, I'm not very good at saying, I want you to do it this way. because I'm not paying them. They're volunteers. And then I feel like, well, I'm imposing. And, so it's like I kind of have to do the whole thing myself. If I made enough money that I could have an employee for the podcast, that would be a whole different story. Then we could start an ANLS page and we could do this and we could do that because I'd have somebody that I could say, okay, I want it this way. No, I didn't ask you for a discussion. I want it this way. So that's pretty much where I'm at with the podcast and Facebook pages and things like that. Did any of that?
Well, I'm hearing it, but I'm not entirely buying it, so I'll keep hammering away.
Chris, can I interject?
Yes, please.
I've known Lionel since about 1990.
I'm sorry.
I'll still say there's no hope in hell.
Fair enough.
You listened to his explanation. You decided not to agree with it, but I'm telling you.
Hold my beer.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Tracy Boyd is helping now with the dinner and the hockey game that we're going to go do in Springfield. But she says to me the other day, she says, can we have games and name tags and door prizes? And I said to her, you can do whatever you want, just don't include me. Like, knock yourself out. Just don't include me.
Here's what I'll offer. I think that you're considering a Facebook group like an ANLS group to be a lot more work than it really is. For example, you decide you are going to do the Caboose project, and you take a picture and post it on your ANLS group and say, I am going to work on this project, and it's there. And now there's ANLS content in an ANLS spot. And maybe 2 months later, you and I have talked, and we've worked together on working with a decal company to get your decals for that ANLS Caboose. And you post a picture of those decals, and now you've got a second post 2 months later, but it's there. To the point of, when we talk about and start, really getting the word out that we're working on an ANLS car, people who don't remember the 90s and the posts in MLR and that ALS, they go and search. You talk a lot about the power of the social media. And when I go to the Google machine and I type Allegheny and Lackawanna Southern, I've got an eBay ad to that one magazine that seems to be everywhere from 1994 pops up, right? So if you were to consider an ANLS group, and then when you do, it takes 30 seconds. You post the picture and, hey, here's what I'm working on with this ANLS Caboose, and then you share that post to the freelance group that's got 4,000 people on it, right? And all of a sudden, a lot of people are like, oh, I've heard of that railroad, and there's a page now. Let me click on this link, and I'm gonna want to join this group, right? And I feel like it's a lot easier than you might think. Now I've got a Facebook group for HomeShops, which has just got now over 1,000 members. I've got a Facebook page. I've got the Twitter account, and I would say of the time that I put into HomeShops, probably less than 5% is on all of those social media venues combined. So just having the content out there where people are looking. If somebody goes to Facebook and searches Allegheny and Lackawanna Southern, nothing's going to come up. And I just think it's interesting, as you've talked so much about the power of social media. I think it's a lot easier than you might think to get that out there. And I'll give you a case in point. I think I mentioned a while ago, or on our last interview, that I'd really like to see an interview done with Lionel Strang about the ANLS. And I don't know if you noticed that, but we just did it. We just did a podcast all about the ANLS. Okay. You answered 30 questions.
Then I don't need a Facebook page.
See how easy that was? Bruce, this is all getting cut out of the final one, isn't it?
Bruce is on mute again.
He's on mute again. Just throwing it out there for consideration, my friend.
No, now I can hear myself. The problem.
I was on mute again.
Yeah.
I gotta stop coughing.
Yeah, stop coughing. Have some more beer.
Go get some more single malt.
Yeah, there you go. Oh. See, the way I see it, I anything I do, I feel like I have a responsibility. And the problem is, if you put in my name, Lionel Strang, the first 4 pages that come up on Google, I haven't stopped. I mean, it goes on for page after page, and it's kind of like, man, if I just add another Facebook page, it'll just be another thing that I feel like I have to be part of, and it's. I'm doing well. I feel like I'm doing a really good job with the podcast, and maybe someday I will.
Fair enough.
Yeah, if you want, you know what? If you want to do an ANLS Facebook page, don't do it.
Hang on a second. I got to get my pen out here. Write that down.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I mean, I started doing these videos that I post on the fans page of pictures from each month from the fans page that I pick out, and I was doing the videos, and I got to August, and I got stopped, and I still want to keep doing them, and I got to catch up on that. No, we're not doing, not right now, we're not the Facebook. It just won't add into I try to keep everything as simple as I feel bad right now because I owe a bunch of people T-shirts for the Patreon page, and I want to get those out, and I got enough to do. But the thing I'm most proud of is every week, Monday and Tuesday, that podcast goes out and it never misses. And this is another great one. What was that size? Oh, yeah, medium.
Medium or small? Yeah.
Kelly Fletcher. There's no such thing as small in model. For crying out loud. Greg Sadler in Australia, he's a medium, and I keep needing to send him more shirts. Medium is like, it's funny. My favorite story about the T-shirts, which, by the way, I came up with a great idea the other day. I feel very confident by the middle of 2022, everybody will have every T-shirt that they're owed. I am very excited I came up with it, and I think it's, but my favorite T-shirt story is my buddy, Steve the T-shirt guy. When I started ordering T-shirts for the NLS, I would go in. I'd say, I need 6 large, 6 XL, 6 double XL. Give me 6 triple XL and 4. He goes, "You don't need 6 triple XL." I said, "Yeah, I do." He's like, "No, you don't." I went, "Yeah, I do." And I said, "I'll need a few 4Xs and a." He says, "No, you don't." I said, "Yeah, I do." He says, "What are these for?" I said, "Model railroading." Well. And he says, and of course I go back and I need more of the same size. He says, "Really? You need that many triple XLs?" I said, "Yeah, that's part of the hobby. Eating donuts is part of the hobby."
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right. I think we covered everything. I think this has been a very interesting interview. It's been a great fun.
I think so too. Oh, can I give one shout out to a fellow AMLer who has really helped me out?
Yeah, for sure.
If you go to the HomeShops LLC Facebook group, you'll notice that there's a new HomeShops logo at the top. And I think you interviewed a fellow by the name of Scott Thornton with Iowa Scaled Engineering and the Proto Throttle.
Yeah, he figured that might sell a couple.
He might sell a couple. Well, he contacted me because he has got his own freelance concept, and he had coincidentally redone the logo because he does that kind of thing professionally, graphic design for. Yeah. He redid the logo for Macrail. Greg McComas, the guy that makes the little ETDs and stuff. He just came up with a new redesigned Greg McComas's Macrail logo, and I just kind of threw this together, the logo that I was using, and I asked him if he might be interested in redoing the HomeShops logo, and I told him what the elements I wanted, and man, he really quickly came up with this HomeShops logo with the stylized H as a shop front with the locomotive coming out of it. And, cool. What I had before was kind of a closed design where there was a border around it. And he turned it into this open designed logo that is fantastic. So through the power of social media, and the AML network here, I got introduced to Scott Thornton, and because of that, we have this new HomeShops logo. So we're pretty excited about that. He did just a fantastic job.
That is a fabulous. I really like that new logo. Which the Macrail one. I'll have to look up the Macrail one. I have a Scott Thornton. Scott Thornton is a good guy, and he's lots of fun, and he can take a joke and everything like that. I have a Scott Thornton and logo story too.
Okay.
So one day, a couple of years ago, he says to me, "The podcast needs a logo." And I'm thinking, "No, I don't." He says, yeah, you need an identifying logo. And I'm thinking, no, I don't. And so he designs one for me. And it was pretty cool. It was like around a microphone and stuff like that. And he had written, and I said, yeah, but the only thing is the way we do the font is, I said, it's a little a lowercase a, big uppercase M, and an uppercase L. And he had done it all in uppercase. And I said, the way we do the font is this particular way. And we got stuck. And he said, well, I don't really want to do it that way. And I said, well, that's kind of the way I want it. He says, well, that's not really the way I see it. And I'm like, but that's the way the font is. He says, well, if you don't like it, probably, I shouldn't have done it. And I'm thinking, well, I never asked you to do it in the first place. So it's a cool logo, but we're stuck. I'm staring at it right now. Let me forward it to both you and I'm going to forward it to Bruce and Chris. Boom. Sent. I'm sending it to you guys right now. It's a very cool logo. It's a lovely logo, but right now we're stuck at a artist's interpretation and my interpretation, and we're stuck on the upper and lower case of the letters because he doesn't want to do them my way, and I don't want the logo unless he does.
I like the logo.
I like the logo.
You want the A to be
lowercase, the way it is,
which is what you sent me. So you want it the way it is,
right? But the only two uppercase letters are the M of Modelers and the L of Life.
Mm-hmm. Did he give you a version of that also?
No, he won't. We're stuck at artists at artist license. And
that's a really cool looking logo.
It is. It'd be cool on a T-shirt. Yeah. So that's my Scott Thornton story. We are stuck on this logo that nobody will ever see other than me and Scott Thornton unless he changes the letters on the name. But
Bruce, what happens first? We get a new logo here?
Well, I'm thinking he says to Scott, have you ever heard of that? The customer's always right.
But I was never the customer. He volunteered.
That's true. All right.
Because he said
it's nice, it's nice, but I don't like it.
Yeah, he said you need a logo, and I'm like, no, I don't.
I think we're looking at your new logo.
No, we're not. Not even close. I like the logo I have. I have the oval.
Well, you've actually already got quite a bit of brand recognition with the logo.
I do. I have I have a lot of brand recognition. I'm quite happy with it. So anyway.
Poker chip logo.
The poker chip is my favorite, actually. And I designed that all by myself.
And you'll have to make a whole lot of new T-shirts now.
And the oval is.
He has a T-shirt guy does that for him.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
here's the artwork. Knock yourself on and do a whole pile of triple X's and
yeah.
Yeah.
And the oval, our buddy Bruce, the moderately agitated mailboy, put a lot of work into that oval logo. So those are our two logos, the poker chip and the oval. And then Scott says, "You need a logo," and I'm like, "Let's see."
I do like the oval logo. I like it.
Let's see. Let's see if I can find. Because it makes me laugh because Scott is a great guy.
He is.
Scott is a great guy. Here he is. Hey Lionel, you recently mentioned. No, that wasn't. Oh yeah. He says, since I'm a designer by trade, I just wanted to help you get a more consistent brand look for the AML. The designs you produce are quite varied, and from my experience, it would be more effective if you had a consistent and repeatable look that people would associate with AML. But you didn't ask me to create the look, so it's not my place to butt in.
He's a man's honest.
I was thinking, so why are you?
Yeah. So there's a mystery logo that may never appear, but it's a beautiful. There is no doubt. There is absolutely no argument. The logo that Scott did for you is fantastic. I'm going to go look at Macrail right now, and then we're going to stop talking because we're kind of wandering, which makes for bad podcasting, and we don't want that. We want to leave on a high note. Oh yeah, there's the new Macrail logo. Very cool. That's a cool company too. All right, that's it. Bruce, could you give out our email address? No, Bruce is on mute now.
If I can take myself off mute, I can. Our email address, please send us an email. We like your emails. We actually read your emails, and that's always a blast when we get on to reading viewer mail and things like that. Our email address is modellerslife, modelers with one L, modellerslife@gmail.com.
I'm looking forward to the next viewer mail, which I think we'll do very soon, Bruce, because we got a ton. Again, we have another ton of email, which is very, very
beautiful.
Cool. And we have some contrary ones too, which are my favorites because
we like the contrary ones.
We like the ones where people have comments or are critical or have tell us what they like and don't like.
Yeah.
And there's a couple there where they didn't like it that I was yelling at Gordy Robinson.
Oh.
But you know what? I thought I was true to my form in the 2 segments we did today. I at least yelled at him at least once in each one.
True.
Yeah, so that's good. And if you go to A Modeler's Life, the website we have, amodelerslife.com, and you scroll down just not too far, there's a picture of Bruce the moderately agitated mail boy in a particularly agitated state. And if you just click on that picture, boom, then you can send in, all you do is fill in your text and you can send that email. You don't even have to remember the address.
Nothing could be easier.
Nothing could be easier. And Chris, tell us about the T-shirt you bought from Midwest Model Railroad.
It's your standard logo on the gray shirt. I thought, I'm never going to get one from Lionel, so I'll just buy one. And I'll tell you, I've heard you plug it, if you will, on this podcast quite a bit, and I hadn't actually looked at it on the Midwest Model Railroad website until I decided I wanted to get the shirt. And man, I was surprised at just how many different things there are on there. I actually had to stop and think about it for a while, and I'll probably get another one here shortly. But it was very easy, and I think I had that shirt and the mug show up within 2 days of when I ordered it. It just showed
They're
up.
amazingly fast for shipping.
Amazingly fast. The coffee cup was too small, though. You need to have bigger ones.
Yeah, I know. I think I'd like to. That's a whole nother field of merchandising. See, so that's why I don't have any time for an ANLS Facebook page. Merchandising is a whole nother part of the podcasting. All I ever started out was, I thought like a couple of dozen guys would listen to it. That's what I thought. That's what I was going for. Hey, this might be fun. I've never done this before. I wonder what it's like. And maybe somebody will listen to it. Holy smolies. I never imagined this. We're closing in on 750,000 downloads since we started.
Wow.
We regularly have over 10,000 downloads a month. Many shows are been downloaded. Most shows are downloaded apparently by podcast standards. If your show is downloaded 1,000 times within a few weeks, that's pretty spectacular. We pass that no problem. So there's a lot of model railroaders out there.
And around the world. Yeah,
we just got a really cool email from... Oh, yeah, we got one from a guy in Switzerland. That's a locomotive engineer in Switzerland.
Cool. We'll have to get him and talk to him.
I know. Well, yeah, we should, but let me see it. Let me see. Hang on. Let me see.
That'd be on the list for 2025?
Yeah. No.
No?
Let's see. There's a guy from an active... there's a guy that's Jason Guest. I'm looking forward to reading this one. Being an active duty U.S. Navy submariner.
Cool.
Wow, and he listens to the podcast. Anyways, there's a guy from Switzerland that listens to the podcast. And there's tons of people. There is a ton of email to read, so it's going to be very exciting.
I look forward to it.
Yeah. Where were we? Okay, we're talking about the email. We've talked. So yes,
you talked about sending emails. Now you got to talk about if you want merchandise. Seeing as we're talking about merchandise.
Seeing as how we're talking about merchandise, if you go to Midwest Model Railroad and their URL is midwestmodelrr.com, and you go all the way across the navigation bar to the right and click on AML, boom, you're going to get you'll be open to a wonderland. Describe how your breath was taken away, Chris, when you first opened that. You went to that wonderland of merchandise.
No, there are no words, Lionel. It was indescribable.
Indescribable, exactly.
It was like a kid in a candy shop. You go, holy cow, look at all this neat stuff.
It was better than my first cab ride in a locomotive, Lionel.
Wow. How about that?
That's still not doing a Facebook page.
No, I'm still not doing a Facebook.
Am I still at a medium T-shirt?
Well, yeah, I might
medium run through hot water.
Yeah,
and then full hot on the dry side.
Yeah, put that baby on and see put that on and see what you think of your Facebook. We're having more fun than we're supposed to.
Oh, this does happen, doesn't it?
Yeah. All right. So this is going to be this is going to be a regular episode, Chris.
A regular episode. There we go.
Yeah, this is quality. This is quality podcasting.
Quality stuff.
So yeah, because this is a free episode and lots of people are listening to it, don't forget, if you're enjoying this podcast and you'd say, "Man, I wish I had 2 of these a week to listen to," For just 365 easy payments of 16 cents a day, you too can have a podcast every Monday and every Tuesday, because you'll then become a part of the Patreon community in the AML Nation, and boom, you'll get the Tuesday podcast, which our buddy Kaylee Zhang refers to as the Antics Channel. And that's always lots of fun. That's lots of fun. I was telling Peter the story, my son Peter the story today, because he was listening for a while to the podcast. He says, how did the Queso Cowboy, how did he get his nickname? I said, oh, that's kind of a sad story. One night he was getting a little bleary-eyed, and we all kind of went, what's wrong? It was almost like, are you okay? And then it turned out he'd had like 42 gallons of queso that night with tacos.
Yeah. And then when we were talking to Michelle Kempton one time, she was loopy on the queso.
She was loopy on the queso. That's right. Queso is dangerous. You can't
tasty.
But tasty, yeah. Dangerous?
And that itself is a dangerous combination. Dangerous and tasty. Ooh,
dangerous and tasty. Let's see.
You're in deep trouble there.
Yeah, you're in deep trouble. Let's see. We gotta find the words. We gotta find the okay. Are you ready? Do you know what you're supposed to say, Chris, at the end?
I believe I do.
All right. Well, Chris, as we close the barn doors on another episode of A Modeler's Life, and the sun slowly sets over the back 40, I guess there's nothing else left to do except for you to say,
happy rails to you.
While in Busted Knuckle, guests of A Modeler's Life podcast stay at the Casa del Sol Motor Court and Inn, where late-night dancing at the Rumba Room is a magical event to be experienced.
It's another Lincoln Homer.
That's quality podcast.
Beautiful. That's quality stuff right there.
That's a quality podcast right there.
This was a lot of fun. I appreciate it, guys.
And I'm looking forward to these A&L boxcars, man.
Holy moly.
Take a couple of those.